Okay, I guess we'll start. There's probably some people that will still probably come in the next couple of minutes, but I suggest we already start. Welcome to everybody that joined us. This is a introduction and a presentation of the program we set up together with Bert Bruggeman to help hardware startups and scale-ups with, I would say, predominantly board challenges. I will share a quick presentation with also the agenda of today with you, and then we'll start the meeting of today. Normally, everybody can see my presentation. This is the agenda, so I'll quickly, shortly introduce what Voxdale does. Maybe most of the people in the meeting know it already, but I will quickly go over it, and then I will introduce you a little bit the mentorship program, what we do and why we do it. And then, of course, we'll have an extensive discussion with Bert to get to know him better and his motivations. And then also Niels of OTIV joined us. Thank you very much for that. To bring a testimonial on why he joined the previous program and still is working together with Bert. And then we have some time for a Q&A session. So shortly on Voxdale, what we do is we try to deliver innovative and impactful products together for our clients and together with our clients. We do that predominantly on hardware. We were founded in 2007. We're around active in 3 locations, 3 countries and 6 locations. Our headquarters is here in Weinigem, but we also have offices in Ghent. We have offices in Liège. We have offices in the Netherlands and in Germany, in Berlin. We're around 40 to 45 people today at the company. We've done already over 1,200 projects of the ones that predominantly were hardware developments over the last years. So we have that workshop, and we basically help companies with design and engineering support in hardware and IoT. We have an incubator where companies stay at our offices to actually grow and build their products. And we also build our own spin-off companies together with universities or innovators. So these are the locations where you can find us. So we help companies with the shaping of the idea, so the initial stages, pre-startup even, pre-incubated, and then helping them build the concepts and deliver the final product to go to upscaling for production. So we deliver the end-to-end hardware and IoT support to our to the companies we work for. Not only startups and scale-ups, we work also for corporates, universities, research institutions, etc. This is a broader overview. I will not go into detail on that. You will also be able to find it on our website. Some of you in the call probably have already experienced it or know it, but this is a little bit of a deeper overview. Now, going a little bit deeper into the mentorship program, I think the first question is, why are we doing this? Why do we set up a mentorship program for hardware specifically? I think one of the things is what we saw is, this is US data, where you see that hardware companies and startups are really doing well in the US. And both in seed rounds as in pre-series rounds, they're doing well if you compare with the other sectors. In Europe, it's different. We don't have the exact same data, but at least the data from Belgium, the Netherlands, also other countries, Germany, are clear that hardware is trailing behind. If you look at, I think many of you probably experienced already, that raising funds for hardware in the context of Belgium and the Netherlands is difficult. It's challenging. It's really challenging. And that's why we basically took somebody that has experience in the US context, we'll come to that later, Bert Bruggeman, and brought him back to Belgium and see how we can help companies learn from what people are doing in the US. And of course, also look into the US for funding. And the second one is, there are ecosystems, certainly in Belgium, but definitely also in adjacent countries that are really doing well. I'm thinking of, for example, the SaaS ecosystem that is really doing well in Ghent. And one of the things you see there, that there's quite a lot of people that has done that already a couple of times, have been successful, have been scaling, selling off companies, starting up companies again. And these are the people that are also investing in these new SaaS companies, are in the board of directors, are in the board of advisors. And at least the feedback I get from many of these companies is that that kind of support is giantly important in the success they had. I think one example I'm top of mind is Henchman. If you speak with the guys of Henchman, they will definitely give a lot of credits to their investors and their board of the success they had, at least with the exit. But where is the hardware board support in this area? There is some, but it's really, really limited, and the ecosystem is not there. And that's one of the ambitions we definitely have as Voxdale together with Bert. We don't have that experience, we don't have that expertise, so we needed to get it from somebody else. And that's the ambition we definitely have with somebody like Bert, to bring them back to Belgium and help these companies with, for example, everything that basically has to do with founding companies, scaling companies, fundraising, selling off companies, deal making with big corporates, team dynamics, and these kind of things. So that's why we did the program. So what is the program about? It's broadly advice for strategy, scaling, deal making, funding, etc. Basically everything that is board level stuff in a startup and a scale up, where you maybe have investors, but you will probably find it difficult to find investors that have been already in your shoes 2 times, 3 times, 5 times. And that's really the expertise you need on a board level to actually bring the startup or your scale up to that next level. And these are the, so we thought long about it, and we basically came up with 2 different programs, probably with 2 different programs for different companies with different needs. First one is the startup program, where we basically have a more of a day approach, where we have deep dives with 2 to 4 startups in a group session. So everybody listens to each other. There's 1 to 1.5 hours full attention for one startup, and we alternate. And the reason is because we think startups, certainly in the early stages, can still learn a lot from others too. And they can learn from the other conversations too. There's still a lot of exploration at that stage. And then there's also mentoring available 4 times per year during a period of 12 months. The scale-up program, it's more like a board level position. We'd say there's a deep dive of 3.5 hours for the individual startup, so it's not in group, because there's probably some more confidentiality in these scale-ups. They're already further advanced. A real deep dive. And then there's over 12-month periods, 12 times, 1 to 1 hour of mentoring session. It's on call there, very flexible in that perspective. It's basically what the scale-up needs at that stage, but it's much more of a close mentoring setup than the startup program. So these are the 2 programs we have. And the rest of the details are all on the website. And of course, it's about having somebody with that experience, and for us that is Bert. So thank you very much, Bert, for joining us also in this meeting. Thank you very much for wanting to help here and offering your services and your experience. What I would suggest, if you can maybe shortly introduce yourself, what have you done, and maybe also why you're here. Huh? You're on mute.
Okay, now I'm not on mute anymore. Good afternoon, everybody. I think I catch most of people with afternoon. I'm actually in California. I'm in Silicon Valley early in the morning, working with a few companies here this week. Anyway, so yeah, so my name is Bert. You can kind of see a little bit of my resume there, more on the internet and on LinkedIn, so you can obviously get a whole lot more details there. I thought it's more interesting to maybe just talk a little bit about what I do and and maybe how I do it, and the reasons behind that, and highlight some of my background. Yeah. So I've lived 30 years in the US. Yeah. Most of that in Silicon Valley. I live on the East Coast now, and I have a bit of an ambition to build stronger ties back to Belgium, perhaps come back over time. Maybe not Belgium, but maybe like a nicer climate in Europe somewhere. But I'd like to come back and in a way give back a little bit to the areas where I came from my roots, if you will. Yeah. In that process, I met Tim and a few others in the Belgian ecosystem, and I believe I can contribute. Yeah, help understand perhaps the problems that at a more macro level, the ecosystem, the innovation landscape in Flanders, in Belgium, is dealing with, kind of helping to understand that, and then obviously solve it. And part of that is engaging with innovators like you on the call here today, and many others. So and that's what I do. So I help innovators get things done. Yeah, and I make that very generic, because I don't think I want to be like very specific on it. The problems you face are they're very specific to your team, to your market, to your product, to your boards, to your employees, to your customers, etc. But I'd like to get things done. Yeah, work with innovators to achieve that, and in that process become your best self. Yeah, I'm also a certified leadership coach, and I believe essential to success in small endeavors and big endeavors, it's actually leadership. Some of you are typically, the innovators are younger people, that are facing challenges because of the leadership nature of the role. Yeah. So I've lived in this transformation of taking new ideas from the lab to the market for 30 years. Yeah. So taking ideas out of a university, out of a seed, out of a Series A, and driving it to volume, sometimes to massive scales. Yeah. I've been an engineer. I'm an engineer. I still am. I'm a little bit dull after 30 years, maybe not as sharp. Um, but I've been an engineer, I've been a CEO, and kind of most critical roles in between. Yeah. So I'm kind of a very general person that way. So I've seen a lot of things. Worked in many different verticals: semiconductors, solar, robotics, automotive, and spending quite some time in climate tech as well. But the movies might be a little bit different, but the characters and the roles and how this all comes together is very much the same, I would say. Yeah. So I kind of all the variety that I've seen, the diversity of problems and solutions, they bode well to bring in kind of an environment like this. Yeah. Um, um, I have raised some money, 350 million in total. I kind of did a little bit of math on that. So I know a few things about that. I've done 2 exits that were successful to a degree. Yeah. And I also had a few failures, right? And perhaps those are the more interesting ones to talk about. When things are great, perfect, but it's the failures or the coming short that I think is the grounds of true learning and expertise, and how you bring that knowledge to other people. I've worked for the most demanding bosses and innovators, I think, in the world. Yeah, one of them is Elon Musk. That's kind of well known. The other one is T.J. Rogers. So those guys, they kind of parted a certain set of thinking and a certain set of values, even. Yeah, in my approach and the way I go about things. Most of that I think is good. I try to avoid their not so good sides of things, but we'll see that. Yeah, and I love to develop leaders. Yeah, teams, be hands-on in getting things done. So I'm not So don't think of me as it's like a consultant and as a guy who talks a bit and he's going to tell me what I already know and then repackage that. If that's what you're looking for, I'm probably not that person. I'm really a change agent. That's how I'd like to think about me. I'll work one on one with you. Yeah, I'll get my hands dirty. Yeah, I'll get into the details of it and help change the needle, change the status quo. The needle needs to move. Yeah, when our engagement ends, I'm looking for two things. One, value got created, a problem was solved, whatever that is. Yeah, and two, you and your team are better from a leadership perspective. So those are the two things that I'm after, and measure my success as engagement on. To do that, I don't want to sit in general meetings and be on the surface. Yeah, so I'd like to get into it and poke and really ask questions and help formulate solutions, sometimes help implement them too. Yeah, so that's more how you should think about me. Yeah. um so
Yeah.
I'm not here to provide general startup education and kind of be an overall methods, and I don't give nice presentations and cookie cutter things. I don't do that. Yeah, so there are other resources for that. I'm here if you'd like as a resource to partner with you to solve what needs to get solved, whatever that may mean, right? At a CEO, at a leadership team level, whatever that is, that's what I can partner on. So that is what I work on, and there are no presentations needed for that. Yeah, so it's connection, relationship, hands-on, build trust, and yeah, move the needle. So that is a little bit how I work. Yeah, perhaps a little bit different than other things out there, right? Which are also valuable, by the way. So yeah.
Maybe
So that is kind of a quick overview. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe a quick question on that. We've seen, of course, you worked in different sectors, going from cement business or concrete business to automotive to the silicon business. And I know you're also working together with medical device startups at this stage, high tech medical device startups. You say you are a poker. Where do you look first when you poke? What is the things you were looking at? And when you looking at different kind of startups and different kind of sectors, what are the things you were looking at first?
Yeah. So I think for a few things. So I always like to understand what's the problem that's being solved. Right? Is that clear? Yeah. What problem are we solving? And more importantly, what value does that bring to the stakeholders in the market? Yeah. I sometimes run into companies that have great ideas. Yeah, they have technology that's kind of looking for a problem. Yeah, so that is like kind of the first thing. What value is being created here? Yeah, what problem is being solved? I think that's an essential thing. And can the company articulate this in a very short, two, three, four sentences statement, conversation with numbers? Yeah. By the way, this is a hint, right? This is hard. Yeah. What I just described. So I think that's the first thing I'd like to get after. Also, because if that the clearer that is, the more uh, succinct that is. I think it's at the core of any exciting investor pitch. Yeah. Because I think that's where the money is, that's where the returns are, that's where the cash flows are. So if that's clear, I think you have a solid basis, and this is hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also look for a team. Yeah. Does the team have passion? Do they have a connection with the problem? What is their ability to listen? Yeah. To absorb what's being said by people like me, right? And others like me, and do they have an ability to create pace? Can they create speed? Yeah. Right. Um, the technology itself, right? Because we were working hardware, all of that. Does this pass first principles, right? Is this simplified enough? Have we taken out all the unnecessary things that just stand in the way and would consume time and bandwidth and money? Yeah, does the technology pass first principles? So I would say those kind of three are
Yeah.
my first
Okay.
poking sessions. Yeah.
And of course, coaching and mentoring is not only about saying how good people are doing, also pressing on the things that are not going so well.
Yeah.
What are, if I was maybe comparing with what you've seen on the US side and maybe the startups you have already seen here, or in general, where do you see and what aspects are hardware startups not doing it very well? Is there a common thread to take or not per se?
I mean, I don't know if maybe there's one that I've noticed because I would it would be arrogant for me to say that I'm an expert in the European and the Belgians. I've seen quite some companies by now, so maybe there are some trends, uh, and especially around hardware. Right? And by the way, that's in the US too. This is what I'm describing. So it's trying to be perfect. Yeah. Like whatever the thing is that you're making, the gadget is you're trying to make, that it's people trying to make it too good, too perfect before they go ask for money in a seed or in a Series A or even beyond that. Yeah. So trying to make it too perfect, I think, is something that we need to be on the outlook for. Yeah. Uh, I heard this is not me, but I heard this like long time ago somewhere. If your customers are not complaining, yeah, you're going too slow, huh? Right? Yeah. So you have to be in the market with your idea, with your technology. Obviously, it can be riffraff, right? It can be a shit show you're putting there, but it needs to be good enough, right? But far from perfect, so that you get that customer feedback, because that's actually what's going to make it the thing that the customers will really want versus what you envision it might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of pace and getting customer interaction, business interaction, uh, 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 and then also obviously critical feedback on requirements and making sure you're solving the problems that need to be solved. So I think that area is something that I've noticed has high levels of commonality. Yeah. And I think the other one is deal making. Yeah. So customers are investors are excited. Investors invest to make money on you, right? On your idea and all of that. Yeah. And that comes through being in the market and seeing the potential of what the customer and the market really is. Yeah. So being engaged in deal making, even early on, even when you don't even have a product. Yeah, you should be talking about commercial relationships, how that would work, what is needed, what volumes are potential. Not that these deals can get inked necessarily, right? But A, you get again a lot of insight into how this market works. B, you're going to get real numbers. C, you probably can get to some LOIs or early contract levels like that. All again to for you to understand how this all works. But when you get in front of your investors, you're going to speak with a whole lot more confidence, yeah, and with numbers and potential, right? And that's a whole lot more attractive foundation to sell from to the investors, right? So kind of that creative deal making is it's a bit art. It's a bit art, right? It's not like you're selling cookies, yeah, or you're selling just like commodities. You're strategic selling in the boardroom with your customers. So it's a bit of an art. It's a capability, and that capability is what I'm finding is lacking too. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen you also working on on really digging into what is the actual value we create in the complete ecosystem, and how you can capture as much as possible of that. Thinking like digging into, okay, there's much more value you guys are not capturing with the solution.
Yeah.
That I've seen also you doing that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to imagine myself, and I would help innovators on the call do that too, right? So if you're the CEO or the general manager or some sort of VP that controls a P&L and a balance sheet on your customer side, so just go sit in his head or her head and look at these numbers. What does your solution do to those numbers? Yeah, this is very hard actually. Yeah, but I find those things fun. Yeah. So how does it impact the P&L and the balance sheet? Yeah, and everything you can actually reduce everything to that. Yeah. Um, so that, because that's where the value gets created. Yeah. Um, so how does that look like? What are those numbers? Do we understand those numbers? Do we understand how we link up? Is this a are we playing on the cost side? Are we playing on the price side? Are we playing on the market percent side? Understanding that and dollarizing that, or the euros in this case, is essential. Yeah, and doing that work makes you understand your customer. Yeah, and makes you understand your requirements and make sure they become very clear, and that's what you solve for, because that's where the efficiency and that's where the speed is, right? Otherwise, we might be off the rail somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
and your investors are gonna also find that out, right? They'll find that out that it's off, or you're not bringing that story, and then it's like, well, this is not like an exciting story. It's small, It's like, I'll give you low valuation, right? And then we're stuck, right?
Very good. Maybe a final question. You said you've worked for high-end innovators like Elon Musk and other very high demanding people. And of course, I think
Hmm.
the level of innovation Elon Musk brought and still is bringing to the space and hardware is of course crazy. I can imagine there's a lot of questions to ask. What is not fun about working with Elon Musk? But there's probably also a lot of stuff you've learned from people like that. And
Yeah,
what are the things you really learned from them?
yeah. So I made a little list here. So I kind of anticipated this. And so I worked for Elon. You guys know Elon, but I also worked for a guy called TJ Rogers. You should look him up. He's a rock star in semiconductor and solar. Yeah. And I think this is a bit of a combination, probably dominated by Elon. So I think these things are kind of not like rocket science necessarily, but so the first one that I always thought about Elon is when he walked with me in the line, and like, hey, what about this? What about that? Can we do this? Yes, we can. All right, can we do it now? Like now, not like in an hour from now, but can you do it now? Right. So I mean, I thought, I was like, I mean, it's intense, right? But it's kind of a, if you can take care of a action, if you can take care of a decision, if you can do that now, in this moment, then just do that. Yeah. It's a bit refreshing and creates speed, by the way. Yeah. So I thought, I mean, I was there to a level, but he kind of took that to a whole other level, I would say. Um, I think simplifying, yeah, simplify, reduce to first principles is hard, yeah. But yeah, don't optimize what should not be optimized, right? I think he is on the record somewhere saying that engineers love to optimize problems that they shouldn't, right? So don't do that, yeah. So I think this is and you do that by, is this simple enough, the way we go about building this product, right, etc. is this simple enough? Is this not violating first principles? And I can tell you, right, I've seen companies that have spent $100 million that are violating first principles, right? So, and that's not necessarily correct, yeah, because they don't tend to get there, yeah. The other favorite is don't plan yourself to death. Yeah, I mean, if there is one thing I personally hate is having to sit in planning meetings and planning meetings and planning meetings and more Microsoft project diagrams, etc. You obviously have to have the essentials of certain things, right? But you got to understand your critical path, yeah, and push the critical path, because that will tell you what problems you have to solve, not the other ones that you imagine are the problems, right? Um, and then I think, yeah, good enough. I already talked about, yeah. And my favorite one, which is both these guys had this, right? My favorite one is be realistic, Bert. Demand the impossible.
Tell me again.
Be realistic. Demand the impossible.
That's
Yeah.
fun to think about. It's an
Yeah.
interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody can chew on that one, but
Yes.
they both had this, yeah, and I know from TJ, for example, he got that from a, a generation before him, innovators from a generation before him, guys that laid the foundation of Silicon Valley, right? Fairchild Semiconductor, Hewlett Packard. That's where he got that from, yeah. But yeah, be realistic, demand the impossible,
Yeah.
right?
Can
Yeah.
you maybe say TJ Rogers, because I get here like internet influencers. What is his exact name? I think people are looking him up and don't know him.
Oh yeah. So it's so he's the was the founder and CEO of Cypress Semiconductor. Yeah.
Ah, okay, we'll find
Right.
him.
Right. And then Cypress Semiconductor then eventually got acquired by Infineon, the Germans. Yeah. Technologies. But then TJ was also an early investor, innovator, founder, board member, all of that in the solar industry. So he helped create SunPower, which then became part of Total Energies in Paris. Yeah. So here's this.
I
Yeah.
put it in the chat. It's probably him.
Yeah.
Eh? He has a website, tjrogers.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 Tough. Tough as nails. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
no, yeah, but yeah, that's it. I mean, kind of that be realistic, demand the impossible is, yeah, reach for the skies, the reach for the skies and argue, find arguments, find ways to make that happen, right? And instead of, at least that's how I always kind of interpreted this thing, instead of, well, let me tell you why it's not possible.
yeah,
So that's kind of the difference there, right? Let's spend our time talking about why it is not possible versus, well, let's spend our energy on figuring out how to make it possible, even if this seems impossible. Yeah, right. And because that's, I think, where reality comes then, and how you can
yeah.
turn this into reality. Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic lesson. Some way, I have the idea that this at a certain stage will backfire at me at a certain stage, but I think it's a fantastic lesson, Bert. But thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Thanks. I think thanks a lot for sharing a little bit
Yeah.
who you are, what you've done. I suggest we go to Niels now, because he entered in the program. I think they're also doing something fantastic, of course, with OTIV. Really, really happy that you guys have joined the program. And maybe if you want, Niels, first of all, quickly tell a little bit about OTIV. What do you guys do? What's your dream? And where are you for the moment?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you very much, Tim, Bert, and Stephanie for inviting me. to give this testimony. Very happy to be here. I also started my career in Silicon Valley. Didn't stay there for my entire lifetime, or at least up until now. It was a little less than a year, but also there I learned quite a bit about the mentality, especially. But so my name is Niels, one of the co-founders and CEO of OTIV, and OTIV is basically building assisted and autonomous technology for everything that is on tracks, that is on rails. So we're thinking about industrial sites, but also trams driving through city centers and mainline trains driving from one city to another. And the main goal for us is to make it more efficient, to make it safer, and to automate this. And that's the technology we want to use to do that. And the goal is to have everything automated in the future. Currently, we're doing project mainly on main lines, so on trains for freight, and on trams in the Nordics, where we are testing both assisted systems, teleoperation, and autonomous technology. Basically, as Bert already said, is like looking for the impossible and pushing it, moving that needle, looking for those people that are the first believers, let's say, the early adopters that actually want to move this industry and want to move this technology forward. And that's where we currently are. We're a company of 40 people, mostly software engineers and a couple of hardware engineers. And that's basically why we also entered this program is, yeah, we are, let's say, unfortunately, because hardware is hard, and I think Bert can also attest that hardware is hard. But unfortunately, we have to be in this space because, yeah, current vehicles and even future vehicles that are now built don't come with hardware setups. They don't come with sensors. So we are, let's say, at the core a software company, but we do have to work with hardware, and that's the reason why we're also working with Voxdale, and that we entered this program with Bert, because there's a lot to learn on this, especially when you want to scale this kind of hardware. And what we also saw, and that's a bit what Tim said at the start, is like we don't have a lot of peers that can help us in this sense. There's a lot of we are located in Ghent. It's called the SaaS capital. I mean, if they don't think about hardware, they don't even think about how their cloud is working and how the infrastructure is working. They just push a button and it works. But obviously, we have a deeper understanding now, and we need to find these peers. We need to find these mentors in this field to help us. Yeah, first of all, get in the business, but also scaling this business, and that's also where OTIV is at the moment. We're scaling our technology across Europe, and we're also looking into going to the USA in 2025. That's also obviously interesting to then know better.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, the program, I think we started in June, so
yeah.
So it's still pretty early. But is there something already you could share where you say, well, it already brought us this and this and this at this stage?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it links to what Bert already said. It's first of all, we are dreamers at OTIV. We want to shoot for those stars, but I would say that not a lot of people in Europe necessarily agree with us if it's feasible to do so. And that's where you really see the mentality and the differences between USA and Europe. When I was talking to Bert, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is the dream, and these are the milestones we want to hit, and here are the roadblocks. And then he was like, okay, but why are these roadblocks? And then basically, like Bert said, is like, yeah, we basically trickled it down to, yeah, but what do you then need to do to uncover these roadblocks or to go over these roadblocks? And yeah, we had a couple of sessions on this, and that was quite interesting for me to. Yeah, it's more that, yeah, basically Bert or people from the USA, people who are in innovation, people who are in Silicon Valley, they really believe in what if you're telling them a dream, they really believe in you, and they really want to support you. So that's the first thing. And for us, second part is also we are going to the USA. We are also fundraising for a Series A. So that's definitely something that we went back and forth with Bert. and he also gave us some insights on how to tackle that. What kind of people to meet, what kind of arrangements do you want to have in terms of partnerships and collaborations, which we're all looking for in this industry. How do you tackle this? How do you actually push this technology in a faster way, I would say, but also in the correct way, because there's some pitfalls there. There are some things that you need to watch out for as well. So that's definitely something that we, and I hope in the future as well, that we can talk to Bert about, is how to move to the USA, how to scale that hardware, obviously here in Europe first, and then obviously the collaboration, partnerships, and fundraising.
Yeah. Very good. Super. Thank you very much, Niels.
Thank you.
Bert, you want to share something? You're mute.
I'm on mute. Yeah. So one thing that kind of came up when Niels was talking, and thank you, Niels, for saying those things. One of the things that I fundamentally believe in working with young entrepreneurs and innovators is that perhaps a lot of the solutions or a lot of the answers to difficult questions, they're already inside you. Yeah. But you need somebody. You need somebody to help them bring out, right? Kind of a trusted party, I would say, that you can. I mean, you can be vulnerable with, if you will, right? That you can expose your darkest thoughts to, right? About like, hey, I mean, I don't know how to do this, or wow, it's like, what are my investors going to say about that, or how do I tell this to my customer? You know, like very fundamental things that uh, uh, you might not want you might not want to publicize, right, to people. Um, so I think that's also a little bit part of, I think, engagements like this, where I would help, or people like me would help get those answers out actually, because they're in you already. So in that way, we're kind of a coach as well. Like through conversation, let's bring it out, Niels, right? Let's articulate the answer, and it's already inside you. I tend to believe that, yeah, but we need to bring it out, and I think that's where people then also change and become better leaders. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fully echo that. Super. And we've gone a little bit over time. I think we had also anticipated a little bit on that. Are there any questions? If you want, you can put them in the chat, raise your hands, probably just open your mic and just ask the question. That's also, I don't think we're so many. We see 22 people. Are there any questions from somebody about the program, to Bert, to Niels, anything else? No questions? Okay, that's good, Ed, and everything was clear, I guess. And then we've done an excellent job in preparing it. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Bert. Thank you very much, Niels, for taking some time. I know you're super, super busy. Really appreciate it. To you too, Bert. I think, Bert, you're coming to Belgium again around the 6th, 17th, 18th. I think you're taking your flight.
Yes.
Yep. And then the 26th and the 27th, you're here at Voxdale to guide, coach, mentor startups and scale-ups. In any case, anybody that's in this call or anybody, I think in the evening, the 26th, so the Thursday evening, we'll probably just have a gathering, make it low key, maybe some pizzas. Bert will share some stories about I think the things he have done already, a little bit more extensive than we were able to do in this call. So everybody is welcome Thursday evening, the 26th at Voxdale. And I think it's also good that just hardware innovators meet each other. I always see that not everybody in this ecosystem actually knows each other really well. So that's also one of the opportunities we have here: meet each other, learn from each other, ask questions, and maybe together we can build a better hardware ecosystem in the longer term. So voila, yeah. Put that in your calendars. And yeah, we'll follow up with an invitation of the 26th of September, and we'll also follow up with a recording of this presentation.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Tim and Stephanie, for hosting. Niels, thank you for joining as well. And yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. You obviously know where to find Voxdale, but if you have questions for me, find me on LinkedIn, and more than happy to have a dialogue there as well.
Super.
And I'll see you in Belgium.
See you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.